Welcome everyone! In this video we built our own fitness app. So I love to work out, and over the years I've tried many different fitness apps, but I always get bored very quickly. But luckily YouTube has become an awesome resource of amazing free workout videos. So I decided to build my very own fitness app with Python. We can manage the app and fill it with workouts we like, and then each day it sends us an email with a new workout of the day. And the best part is that we can deploy the database and the email sending part to the cloud, so we have to fill the database only once and then it works without us and can run forever. You will learn so much in this tutorial because it includes a bunch of exciting technologies, so I hope you stick with me until the end and then you have your very own fitness app that is deployed. So let's get started. Alright, so first let me give you a demo of the final application. So here we have a Streamlit app that is running locally in the browser, and we see the today's workout page. So here we get the recommendation of the workout of the day, we see the title and the channel name and the length, and then here we can watch the video. Or we can click on choose another workout and then it will randomly select a different one. We can also click on all workouts and here we see all the workouts that we have in our database. And then for example, we can delete them, or we can click on add workout and then paste in a YouTube video URL. And now it extracts the infos like the title and the channel name and the URL. And then we can click on add workout. And now it will be added to our database. So if we go back to all workouts, then now here this should be as well. So yeah, there we have it. So yeah, this is the functionality, and on top of this we also implement a functionality that will update the workout of the day and then also send us an email. So the app here to manage our database will run locally, but this additional functionality to send us an email and update this will actually be hosted in the cloud using HarperDB. And this is all included in the free tier, so no worries. But yeah, I think this is going to be pretty cool. So let's get started and see how to do this. So here I'm in a new folder with 3 files. In app.py we create our Streamlit app. In database service we create helper functions to interact with the database. And in YouTube extractor we create a helper function to extract infos from a video. And the cool thing about this setup is that if you want to use a different framework, for example Flask, then you could still use the same database service and YouTube extractor, because the database will be a cloud database that is very simple to manage. So feel free to use a different app later. Right now we focus on the database service, and for the database I chose to use HarperDB. So HarperDB is a very fast and also very flexible database. With this we can use both SQL or no SQL, whatever you prefer. So later I show you how to do this. We can run this on any edge device and also in the cloud. So in this example we use a cloud instance. And then what's also very unique is that this functionality that is called HarperDB custom functions, you can compare this, for example, to Lambda functions. And this allows us to have our own API endpoints that are hosted in the cloud. And with this, we can interact with our database at a very fast speed. And we can also run any JavaScript code that we want. So in this example, we use this to send us an email every day and update the workout of the day. And don't worry, you don't have to write JavaScript code if you don't want to. You can simply copy my code from GitHub later and then plug this in and it will work. So this is pretty cool. So let's learn how to use HarperDB. And one quick disclaimer, so HarperDB chose to sponsor this video. So for this, I want to say a big thanks to HarperDB. But even if they didn't sponsor me, I think I would have used them for this project because it's a pretty cool cloud database. And also this custom functions functionality is pretty cool. So this is basically all that we need. And also don't worry, you don't have to pay for this. So all that we are going to implement will be included in the free tier. So Let's see how to do this. So you have to go to harperdb.io or simply use my link in the description and then click on Studio Login. And of course you have to create an account first. And in my case, I already did this and created a free account. And then I deleted everything again. So now we will set this up together again. So click on the plus and then on the left side, create AWS instance. Then click on Next, then select a name, for example, Cloud1. Then we get our instance URL, so we want to keep this. And then as username, I use Patrick, and then I put in a password. Then let's click on Next, and here we see we get a free tier for RAM and storage. And for the region, we also simply keep the default and click on Next. Then we have to confirm this and add instance, and now it will create our instance. All right, so this is ready and you should see the status is okay. Then we can click on this and load the instance, and right now it's still empty. So the first thing to do is to create a schema. A schema is a collection for all the tables that we're going to use. So put in a name. I call this workout repo and then click on OK. Then we can create a table. So I create one that I call workouts to store all the workouts. And we have to give this a hash attribute. So this is a unique identifier for all the elements. So in this case, I call this video ID. Then click on OK. Then I want to create a second table that I call workout today. So this should store only one entry to store the current workout of the day. And as hash attribute, you can also call this video ID. Now I only call this ID and then click on OK. And now it's still empty, of course, but you see it already created these columns, for example, ID, then the created time and updated time. And now we can use this in our code. So in Python, it's very simple to use this because it has a Python SDK. So we can install this by saying pip install HarperDB. And then here we can import HarperDB and use this. So the first thing to do is to create the URL. So let's go back to the instance overview, and then here you see the URL, so we can click on this and then paste this. So that's my URL of my cloud database. Then we also need to use our username. So in my case, this was Patrick, and the password, so I can tell you this because I changed this later. This was simply Patrick123. And then we can connect. So we simply say db equals harperdb dot harperdb. And now we give this all the parameters. So URL equals URL. Username equals username. And password equals password. And now this should work if the credentials are correct. And then, for example, we can print db.describe underscore all. And now if I save this and then run Python database.service.py, then this should work. So let's try this. And yeah, it worked. So you see we get a dictionary back. So this is working. Now let me show you how to put data into the database. So let's delete this again and let's store the schema and table names. So the schema was called workout repo. Then the first table was called workouts. And the second one, let's call this table today. And I called this workout underscore today. And now to insert data, we can, for example, use a dictionary. And now for the first workouts table, remember there was a ID or a hash attribute that I called video ID. So we have to use this. And then let's, for example, use a string 1, 2, 3. And then as data, we can put in everything that we want now. For example, let's simply use a title and then let's say test 1. And now we can call db.insert, and now we have to use the schema name. So we stored this, so we can use the schema and the table. And now be careful, this must be a list, so we can also put in multiple records. So here we put in the data, and now this will return a result, so we can store this and then print this. So let's save this and then run this again, and hopefully this works. So we get this back message, inserted 1 of 1 records. So this worked. So now if we go back to our cloud instance and go into this and refresh this, then we have to select the workouts table. And now you see we have our first entry here. And yeah, so it created these 2 attributes for us, but this is what we used. And the layout of the table is very flexible. So it's not like with an SQL database that we have to predefine all the columns. So for example, right now we could also use a different attribute. For example, let's say the channel, and then the channel is called test channel. Then let's give this a different ID, and then let's run this again. And now it worked again. So let's go back to the homepage and now refresh or reload the page. And now we see a second entry in our table, and we have a new column with the channel, and the first entry simply has a empty value here. So this works even if we change the way our data looks. So again, this is super flexible. Then we could also click on this and see the JSON data and edit this from here. So we can modify this and click on save or delete this. And yeah, so let's go back to the code. And then again, the data can be very flexible. We can also use a inner nested data here, like an inner list or an inner dictionary. And now let's learn how to use different functionalities to insert, edit, or update the data. So let's create one helper function that we call insert workout, and it gets the workout data. So this is a dictionary. And here we simply return. So we return db.insert. Then we need to specify the schema name and the table name. And then as a list, the workout data. Then I want one function that I call delete workout, and it gets the workout ID. So this is the video ID. Then here we say return db.delete. Then again, the schema, the table, and then as a list, the workout ID. So again, we could use multiple here in one operation. And in this case, we only use one. Then I want one function that I call get all workouts. And now I want to show you that we can use both NoSQL and also SQL. So this is using NoSQL. And if we want to use SQL, we can use db.SQL. And here we can use any SQL command that we want. So in this case, I want to use an F string. And I want to select now all the workouts. So for example, I could use select star, so all attributes. And then we have to say from, and then we have to use the schema, and then dot, and then the table name. So the table name equals table. So basically we say select star from workout repo dot workouts, and then we return this. Or we can simply return all the attributes that we want. So later I show you that I only need a few. So I want the video ID, then we can say comma, we want the channel, we want the title, we want the duration, and yeah, so that's all. So let's save this. Then let's create one function to get the current workout of the day. So let's call this get workout today. And here we basically do the same or a similar thing. So we say return db.sql. Then now here we use star again. And now here we have to be careful. Here we want the table today. And then we also want a condition. So we say where ID equals 0. So there should only be one entry. So and the first entry should have the ID 0. So this should work then. Then let's create one more function to update the workout of the day. So this needs the workout data. And I also use a parameter that I call insert. And by default, this is false. Then here we have to make sure that the workout data has the ID key in it. And this should always be 0 because there's only one entry in the table. Then we say if insert, and now we use this command. So we return db.insert schema. Then here we use table today and the workout data. And otherwise we can use db.update. And then again, the schema, the table name, so table today, and then again as a list, the workout data. And this is all that we need for our database service. So now let's go to the YouTube extractor and see how to extract infos from a YouTube video. And for this, we use the YouTube DL package. So we can install this by saying pip install YouTube DL. Then we can import this. And I also want to say from youtubedl.utils, I want to import the download error and catch this later. Then I set up an instance. So we have to say ydl equals youtubedl.youtubedl. And now I create one helper function that I call getInfo. And this gets the URL. And now I show you how to extract the infos from a YouTube video, and we could also download the video if we want. So for this, we use a context manager and say with ydl. Then we say result equals ydl dot extract info, and we give it the URL, and we also say download equals false. So if you say download equals true, then it also downloads the video for you. In my case, I don't need this. I only want the information. Then we wrap this in a try except block. So let's say try. And then down here we say accept, and then we catch the download error. And now let's return none and then do an error checking later in our app. And otherwise we can go on. So now we do one more check. So we check if the key entries is in the result. This means we have a playlist URL, and then we only want to keep the first entry. So if entries in result, then we say the video equals result of the key entries, and we only want the first video in the playlist. And otherwise, the video equals the full result. So this will be a dictionary. And now I only want to keep a few certain keys in the dictionary. So this is a very long dictionary. So let me copy paste this here. So I want to keep these keys: ID, title, channel, view count, like count, channel ID, duration, categories, and tags, and store all of this in the database. So this is very useful information that we can use later. And now remember that I used the key or the hash attribute video ID in the table. So we have to be careful and change this. So let's use an inner function that I call key name, and it gets the key. And then we check if key equals ID, then I want to return and change this to video ID. And otherwise, we keep the key and simply return the key. And now we use dictionary comprehension and return this. So we return, and as a key, we use key name of the key, and as value, we access the video dictionary of the current key. And then for all the keys in infos, so in this list, and then it will only keep these keys and also change the ID to video ID. So let's actually test this with an example. So let's go back to the database service, and then down here, just as a test, we say from YouTube extractor import get info. Then let's call this. So we say infos equals get info, and here I paste in one URL that I have. Then let's print the infos. Then let's also use the helper function to insert this right away. So we say insert workout with the infos. So this is the workout data. And now we want to get all the workouts that we have. Actually, I want to call this get all workouts. So here, let's say workouts equals get all workouts, and then also print the workouts. And before I run the code, I want to go back to the database and now delete this entry and also delete this entry again, and now start with a fresh workouts table. So now here again, let's run Python database service. And you see it downloaded the web page, so this worked, and now here it prints the dictionary with the workout data, and then it also prints the list with all the workouts, and this worked. And you see we only return a few columns, so video ID, channel, title, and duration. So this works, and now if we go back to our instance and reload the page, then you see we now have the workout stored in the table with all the data that we want. So we have the video ID, the categories, and this is an inner list, the channel ID, duration, I think this is in seconds, then like count and tags, and also the title and the view count and the created and updated time. So this is super cool. So now we have the functionality working to get the infos from a video and to work with the database. So now the only thing left to do is to implement our app. So before we implement this, let's go back for 1 second and delete this down here. So of course we don't want this. And for the app, we import the things we need. So I need random to randomly select the workout of the day. Then we also import Streamlit as ST. And again, we have to install this. So we can do this by saying pip install Streamlit. And then we also need our helper function. So we say from YouTube extractor import get info, and we want to import the whole database service as DBS, for example. And now let's create our app. So first I say streamlit.title, and then let's call this workout app, for example. And to run this, we have to say streamlit run and then the name of the files, in this case app.py. And this will run the app and host this on localhost and then this port. And you see this works. So now we can implement this. And now I go over this code here a little bit faster. So first we create our menu options. So we create today's workout, all workouts, and add workout. And now we can create widgets like so. So we say streamlit.selectBox and then the menu options. and we can create a sidebar like so. And then we use a if statement to check the 3 cases, and now we build up our page that we want. And now if we save this and refresh our page, then it will actually update the app already. And now here we see we have our sidebar. And now let's implement all these 3 pages. So now let me copy and paste the whole code in here for you and go over this. If this is too quick, then you can also find the code on GitHub. I will upload this later and put the link in the description. So here we get all the workouts, and for this I create another helper function that I will put in the top. So I call this get workouts, where I simply call database service get all workouts, and I decorate this with streamlit.cache. This will put this into a cache and not call this every time, only if there is a change or if I clear the cache. And then we iterate over this. So this is a list. And now here we extract all the information and display them. So for the URL, we put this in front and then the video ID. Then we display the title, then also the channel, and then also the duration. And for this, I want to format this in a nicely looking way. So for this, I also create another helper function that I call get duration text, because as I said, this will be stored in seconds and I want to display it in a nicely looking format like so. And then I also want to add a button where I say delete workout. And if we click this, I want to call database service delete workout with this video ID. And then I call streamlit.legacy cache and clear cache and then experimental rerun. This will run the app from the top again. And now the cache is cleared, so we can reload or use this again and get all the workouts the next time. And then I also want to display the video. And otherwise, so we can use a for else statement. So if the list is empty, I display no workouts in database. So this is what we have to do for this page. Then let's do the add workout page. So again, let me copy this for you. So here we use a text input field to get a URL. And if we entered an URL, we call the get info function from the YouTube extractor to get the workout data. And here we do some error checking. And if we have a valid workout data, then we display the information again, like the title and the channel and the video. And we add a button to add the workout. And if we click on this, we call database service insert workout. Then we display a text, edit the workout and clear the cache again. And then again, it will rerun from the top again the next time and can call get all workouts again. And now let's do the last step and implement the today's workout page. So again, I copy this. So here we call the get workouts again, and then we check if the list is empty. So if so, then we display no workouts in database. And otherwise, we want to get the workout of the day. Then again, we do some error checking. So if this is not yet specified, so basically the very first time we use this app, then we randomly select one from the available workouts and insert this. So we get the workouts again, then we get the length of the workouts, so n. Then we choose a random index between 0 and n-1. Then this will be our workout. And then we call dbs.updateWorkout. And now we say insert equals true. So remember, if we specify insert equals true, then it will call db.insert. And otherwise, if this is already defined, we simply use the first entry. So even if this is called get workout today, this command will return a list. So we simply want the first item in the list. Then we add a button if we want to choose another workout. And if we click on this, we basically want to do a similar thing like here again. So we get the workouts, the length of the workouts, And if this is larger than 1, then again we randomly select an index, and this will be our workout new. Then we check if this is a different one. So if the video ID is the same, and while this is the same, we do this again and again get another index. And if this is not the same, then we have a new workout. Then we say workout equals workout new and call dbs.update workout today. And now insert is false. So if we go here, then now insert is false by default, and this will update it. And then again, we display this. So we want the URL, we display the title, the channel, the duration, and now the video with the URL. And now if we save this and go back to the home page and rerun this, then all of this should work now. So let's select the today's workout page, and now it will already display the workout of the day. Then let's click on all workouts. So right now there's only one in the database. So let's add another one and hit enter. And now it should extract the info. So here we have it. Let's click on add. Then it said added workout. Let's go back to all workouts. And here we see we have now 2 entries. Then we can click on today's workout and choose another one. And now it should select the second one. So yeah, this works. We can also go back to our HarperDB instance and refresh this. And now we should see 2 elements in the database. So this works. And we can also click on workout today. And also this worked. So yeah, all of this is working fine. Pretty cool. And now let's learn how to use the HarperDB custom functions to update the workout of the day and then also send us an email. So for this, let's go back to the home page and click on instances. And now we have to create a user installed instance. So this is running locally. So let's click on plus again and then select the right side. And before we can do this, we actually have to install HarperDB. So the command line interface basically. So here you find installation instructions for all the different systems. In my case, I'm on a Mac, so I select the Mac installation guide. And basically all I have to do is install the npm package for HarperDB and also all the requirements. So it needs Node.js, and right now it needs this version. And then also GCC, Make, Python, and the Xcode developer tools. So I already have this, and then you can use this command npm install globally HarperDB and then run this. So I already installed this, so this is working. And now I can run HarperDB. So if you run this the first time, then it will put you through some configuration. So it will ask you for a admin name and also an admin password. So make sure to enter this and also remember this. Now the database is running in the background on my local host, and now this also created a folder on my machine. So by default it's in your user directory and then HDB, so we can go into this. And it created all of these files. Right now we don't need this, but we will have to modify the custom functions directory in a moment. So first, let's finish setting up the local instance. So let's go back to the start page and now click on register user instance. Then we have to give this a name again. So this is local 1. Then you have to use the HDB admin username and the password you used. And then as a host, by default, when you set up the configuration, it used 9925. As a host, you can use localhost, and as port, you can use 9925. Then you can leave this unchecked and click on create. And then again, we have a free instance that we can confirm. Then we have to agree and add the instance. And now this will add a local instance. So this worked. And then you see this is hosted or running on localhost port 9925. Then again, we can click on this, and then here you could or should maybe insert the same schema and names for the tables. So the schema was workout repo. The name is workouts, and here we used the video ID, and then we created a second table that we called workout today with the hash ID. And now we have to enable the functions, the custom functions. So for this, we can click on functions, and now we have to create a project. So for this, we can give this the name API, for example, and then click on OK. And you see the custom functions will be at this URL, so localhost 9926. So it will create a starter package or some starter files for you. So if we go back to the command line and then into the directory, now we can cd into custom functions. And if we have a look at this, now we see we have a folder that is called API. So we can actually open a editor again and then have a look at this. So now we could go over the example files. I actually want to close this and delete the files again. So make sure you are in the custom functions directory and then rm-rf API to delete this. And now I want to clone in my own directory. So I actually prepared this and uploaded this on GitHub already. So you can go to my repo that is called HarperDB Cloud Function Example, and then grab the git clone or the git address. And now I say git clone and then the address, and then I want to clone this in the API folder. So now again, if we open this, then we should see my code that I prepared. And now let's go over this. So custom functions give us API endpoints that we can use. And the endpoints are defined in routes example.js. And here I defined one route at the base URL. So this is the base URL of the custom functions. Then it handles a get method, and now we can implement a handler. So here we can do whatever we want. For example, we can interact with our database and execute a SQL command or also a NoSQL command. Then here I defined a second route. So it's actually the same URL, but here it handles a post request. And here I also use a pre-validation step. So this is defined in helpers example.js, and here I simply have a very basic example to check the authorization header of the request and then compare it with the user and the password. And if this is not the case, then it throws an error. So this is not how to do proper validation, but just an example for you how to use the custom validation function. And if the pre-validation step is fine, then it will execute the handler. So here I get the workout of the day. Then I set a new workout of the day. So this is similar to the code that we've seen in Python. So here it updates the workout today table. And then we send an email. And for the email sending, I created another helper file that you find here. So here we use the node mailer package. So if you have a look at package.json, then you see this is the only requirement. So in here, I set up the node mailer and then send a simple email with the workout of the day. And now the only thing you have to change is the config.js. So here you have to store the HarperDB user and password, and then also the email that you want to use and the email password and the email you want to send this. So make sure to update this. So I updated this, and now I also want to mention that, of course, in Mail.js, make sure to use the correct host and port of your email provider, and then modify the text like you want, and also modify the sender if you want. And now let's see how to run this locally first, and then we also deploy this to our cloud instance. So now we can close this and go back to our Python code. And now let's test this app with our local instance. So for this, let's override the parameters. And here, let's use the URL of our local instance. So this is at localhost port 9925. Then the username was hdb_admin. And the password I used for this was Patrick. And now we can quit the app and rerun this. So again, streamlit run app.py. And then we see we get an HarperDB error, unknown column channel. So I think this is because our table is still empty. So let's actually do some error checking here. So let's say try. And then we do this, and then we want to catch this. So we say except HarperDB.exceptions.HarperDB error. And in this case, we simply return a empty list. So now, again, let's quit this and rerun this. And now this is working. So now it's opening the app, and we see no workouts in the database. So now let's go to the add workout and paste in a URL. And then we can add this to the workout. And now we should also see this as the workout of the day. So this is working. So now let's test the custom functions. Now to test the function locally, we also have to install the dependencies. So say npm install in the API folder. This should install the node mailer and create a node modules folder. Then we have to restart the server. So click on this button down here. Then grab the custom functions server URL. So this will be the endpoint. And now we have to test the API endpoint. So for this, I use the Postman app to send a request. And remember, the folder and also the project was called API. So all the endpoints are at /API. So first, let's send a GET request, and this should get us the workout of the day. So this works. Now let's also send a POST request, and for this we also have to send the credentials. So this is what I stored in config.js as the credentials, so the username and the password. So now let's click on send, and then on the right side we should see a new email in my inbox. So let's run this and hope this works. So wait for a moment, and yeah, here we have it. So we have a new email, the new workout today with the title, the URL, and then we can click on this. So this is super awesome. So now as next step, I want to deploy this to my cloud instance. So in order to deploy it to the cloud instance, we have to go back to the HarperDB Studio. And first, in our cloud instance, we have to enable the custom functions. So click on enable here. And then we can go back to the local instance. And here, go to the functions tab. And now we can click on deploy. And now we should see our Cloud 1 instance. So we can select this and then click on deploy. So this will deploy the very same code of the functions code to the cloud instance. So it will take a few moments. And now it was deployed. So now if we go back to our cloud instance and then to the functions tab, then we should see the very same code here. So now let's grab this URL here and go back to Postman. And let's paste this in here and again at /API and then click send, and let's go to my inbox. And again, we get a new email. So this is working as well. So now this is deployed to the cloud. And now the last thing I want to do is to call this endpoint every day automatically and send me an email every day with a new workout. So for this, we can use a cron job, and I can recommend the website cronjob.org. This is, again, completely free. You just have to create an account. I, for example, use this for another personal project here. And then here I created a cron cron job that I called HarperDB custom function trigger. In your case, you have to click on create, and in my case, I click on edit, and then here you give it a name, and then here the endpoint. So this is the one that we just used in Postman. Then you can specify when this should be executed. So here I say every day at 8 a.m. Then you have to go to advanced and specify your username and password. And then here, in order to make this work, I also had to specify the content type and set this to JSON and then send some dummy data with it. And then you can either try a test run or click on save. And now this will run every day at 8 a.m. and triggers the custom function, and then it sends you an email. So yeah, I think this is super cool. Alright, then that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know this was a lot, so if you run into any troubles, the best way to ask for help is in my Discord server. Also, if you enjoyed the video, then please leave me a thumbs up, and then I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!